So joining us tonight, we got Phil Curtis. He is our 18U program coordinator and 18U AAA Black team head coach. He's just going to be giving us a little bit of insight on what the 18U program is like as a whole and how we can best prepare for it. So chat tonight's geared a little bit more towards the second year guys in our 15U program, but still important for you first year guys to hear, because if you can start practicing some of these good habits now, then when you hit 16 and you're into his first year of the program, you'll be able to hit the ground running a little bit better. So Phil, I've got a few just to kind of kick things off here. I think what might be good to start with is, how many players does an 18U team typically roster? And is the composition of that roster different from what you would usually see at a 13U or 15U level?
Yeah, at the black level, we carry 20, and that's going to be composed a little differently than our yellow and white team, specifically, and quite a bit different than you would see at a Bantam level. At a black level, at 18U, there's specific roles for guys. Especially when you get to grade 12, you're getting ready for college. You kind of got to almost decide whether you're a pitcher or a fielder. And obviously it doesn't need to be decided as long as you perform. But at that high level, if you're not able to perform on one side, you'll probably get relegated to a certain position. And I would just say at the black level, it's put together with guys that we think are ready for the next level or can help us win ball games. At the yellow level, it's a little bit different. It's going to be fewer grade 12s. It's going to be the top Bantam kids that come up, and the younger grade 11s, or the grade 11s that we don't feel like they're going to get enough playing time at black, because that's the big difference between the two. Is at black, like I said, there's going to be a role for each player, and that might mean less playing time for some, and that's kind of how colleges go. Okay, so at the college level, it's most of the time, there's very few exceptions. It's you're a pitcher or you're a fielder. Okay, and you have your role, and you kind of have to compete with the guy beside you to get playing time. There's not as much fair play. It's more earn your time, because we need to gear you for college, and it's specifically at the college level, specifically earn your spot. It doesn't matter who you are, you have to go out there and earn it. So at the yellow level, it's just a little less version of black. With that sense, we still have to develop guys. So there are, I would say, more opportunities for guys to play other positions, whether it's pitcher and fielder. But there would also be what we would still have to earn spots, but we want to make sure everyone's getting in. And then from there, we decide who's the best for this season, and we move forward with that group. And the white level is quite a bit more geared towards development and making sure you're getting your reps in, making sure you are getting better day to day, not just showing up. Okay. For our group, I preach that a lot, is you don't just show up to practice. You come working hard, looking to get better. And that also goes for what do you do outside of baseball. Right now, our group We do a workout every day online on Zoom, and they have drills that they need to do. And again, there's nobody monitoring them. So whether they do them or not, it's kind of, do you want to get better or do you not want to get better? And if you do, you'll do the drills. If not, you'll keep playing PlayStation. So at the midget level, it's you gotta put in the work and make sure you're trying to get better each day.
Yeah, it's definitely a shift that you'll see in terms of there's an end goal in mind with that 18U program. It is for everyone that wants to do ball, but it's predominantly guys that are looking to take ball to the next level and putting in the time and the work to achieve those goals. We absolutely have guys in that program that they just like playing ball. They like doing a little bit of ball in the winter and they go play in the summer, and that's good for them. But for the most part, every player has some form of aspiration at playing at a higher level. And for that is college for most, but for some, it's just trying to take their game to a point where they can play at the highest level they can in a high school aged league. One of the big things that a lot of guys, well, that Phil touched on, that I think a lot of guys will recognize, and why I encourage guys to stay in the game as long as they still enjoy it, is you can see guys have with these roles and expectations, right? You'll have a player in 15U who is a really good pitcher, but an average to below average hitter, right? Well, when you put those two together, you get a 15U player that's, say, right here in terms of relation to the other guys in the program. But when you reach the 18U level and you're allowed to, or we encourage more role playing stuff, that player that was here, if he just decides, you know what, I'm a really good pitcher, I'm going to excel at that, okay, and I'm going to put the offensive side aside. Now you can kind of leapfrog guys because you're playing a role and you're doing it very, very well. And we tailor your development to that, right? It's not something we like to push guys into right when they first enter the program at 16, but for some it is. It's a conversation that needs to be had. It's, what are your goals for baseball? And if it's to play at the highest level possible, well, that might be one of the answers or solutions, right, to make that positional change. And for some guys, it's, you know what, I just like playing ball. I like playing both sides. I like hitting. I like playing defense, and we can accommodate you that way. But I think the idea of there are starters, relief pitchers, catchers, guys that are on that team to be a backup catcher and catch 1 or 2 games a weekend and sneak a few ABs in throughout a 4-game set. And then you've got the guys that are going to play short every 3 out of 4 games. And it's all about finding what's a good fit for you, and then also showcasing the best of you, right? A lot of college coaches, if you want to go play college ball, it's a similar setup. And if you see yourself as a middle infielder and that's where you excel, we're not going to put you into the outfield. We're not going to do that sort of thing, because college coaches are going to want to see you playing the positions that you are the best at, and that will help you move on with the game. Anything more to add on that note, Phil?
No, that's really good. I think we've had a few guys through the program that, like Tom Poole, for example, who was a catcher for pretty much his whole career, and then the last couple of years he started pitching more, and now he's signed as a pitcher. So there'll never ever be any pigeonholing of anything, but a decision will be made at some point, and it's usually you that decides.
Yep. So do you want to take us through what is a typical, let's start in September. What does a typical September to September cycle look like for a player in the 18U program? What do you guys do in the fall, say?
Yep. So in the fall, we start off the first couple weeks. This year obviously was a little different, but usually the first week or two, we kind of got to get back into it because most guys have August off. So it's a lot of getting guys accustomed to how we do things at the midget level. And that's a lot of long toss, getting your body ready. We don't typically dive right into games because, like I said, our bodies aren't ready. So first couple weeks, try to gear your body up to get ready for games. We like to play a lot of in-house games. We think it's very beneficial in the fall because I see a lot of value of guys competing against each other, and we can control it a little more. If we want to see a guy in a certain spot, it's easier to do it if you're playing inter squad, getting them in a certain spot that they might not be as comfortable, where we just want to try something out.
Late night snack.
So with inter squad, we like to do that for another week or two. We typically by the end of September, we try to go to a single tournament where we take who earned the spot in the fall to go to a tournament to represent the Bucks, and we usually play a tournament, and then after that tournament we go into our World Series, and that's where we pick our teams, and we have 3 teams competing against each other for the World Series. So in between there, practicing, we gear our practices towards, like we said earlier, towards college. So our practices are designed to get you ready for college. They're set up very much like a college team would set up their practice. We earlier in the week we do a lot of long toss, a lot of defense, and then we'll have a day where we just hit, and then by the end of the week we'll get into some live at bats, and then some inter squad. For our practices, the biggest thing that I see from new kids and kids coming up is just hustling everywhere, and just working hard. We don't care if you make mistakes. It's not making the same mistake twice, and just learning from your mistakes. We understand mistakes happen, but we want you guys to learn from them. So when you hear me barking at you, it's usually it's a good thing. It means I care, and that next time fix it. So then after fall ball, we go into winter, and for midget high school kids, the biggest thing is getting stronger. We need to put on some strength. Doesn't necessarily need to be weight gain. I know Peach knows a lot about that, obviously, so he can talk more about that. But we're looking for strength gain, and we need to spend those months getting stronger so that when we come back after Christmas and we get back into throwing, our legs are stronger and our arms stronger, so less injuries, less soreness, and being able to throw the ball further and harder. That'll also translate to your swing. So the biggest thing, like I think the winter is one of the biggest things about our program. I think over the years we've built kids stronger, and they've gotten a lot better over it. And from that point, it becomes tryout season, and there's a lot of guys that make big strides, and instead of being a bubble guy, they're on the team, and the guys that put in the extra work we can tell, and they obviously get better, and it shows once we get outside.
Yeah, I'll hop in there and give you a little break. That's where you see the biggest difference between our three programs is that late October, November, December, January period. When you're in 13U, it's 90% baseball skills, 10% just learning fundamental movements. When you hit 15U, we're blending them a little bit, but it's still predominantly swung towards the baseball side, but we try to introduce more of the strength component to you once or twice a week. But then when you hit 18U, they put the balls down. There is no catch in October and November and December. It's they are in the weight room at minimum 3 to 4 times a day, because increased strength equals improved functional ability on the baseball field, right? And Phil made that distinction is sometimes for some guys that does not necessarily mean weight gain, right? It's the goal is to make you the best baseball player you can over that period of time. And when you hit the 18U age level, the biggest gains you see as a baseball player are made in the weight room because your skills are a little bit more polished, right? There's a reason a guy like Tom Poole can be a catcher for so long and then transition so easily into being a high level pitcher because he was strong and powerful. And when you're strong and powerful, you hit harder, run faster, and throw harder. And those skills will translate into success regardless of the position you play. And so that's where we see the most benefit and see the most improvement in guys. And myself as a strength and conditioning coordinator, what I always try to instill in guys is the earlier you can learn to get after it. And by that, I mean like put in the intensity and the effort, both in the weight room and in the kitchen, so to speak, right? The better off you set yourself up for success. A lot of guys, they come in their grade 10 year and they do the workouts, but they're just kind of there to hang out with their friends and okay, yeah, we're doing workouts, right? And then you hit grade 11 and you start to see, oh, well, I throw 70 miles an hour and the metric to go play Division 3 is 80 miles an hour, right? Well, I got to get 10 miles an hour on my fastball in a year, right? So now the panic starts to set in of, okay, now I really got to get after it. And you're going to wish that you had that extra year of training under your belt to get bigger and stronger and faster in the weight room. So that's a big component for us. And that's the predominantly what we do throughout the winter there until January, February, when we make our teams. What about into February, March?
So February, March, that's when we get into our throwing program. That's drive line, long toss, building up that arm strength. At this point, we have our 18U program set, but nobody is put on a team. So we set up our tryouts are a little different. They instead of you trying out and getting put on a team, for midget, you try out and you're part of the program. So when you get accepted into the program at the midget level, then you still have work to do. And those months are geared towards, obviously, like I said, getting stronger, arm strength, and competing for spots. So we have 20 roster spots on each team. We usually go 20 spots on black and then about 16 on yellow and white. So those 2 months are geared towards working towards one of those spots. So for us, it's not good enough to just make it into the 18U program. You got to put in the extra work to get where you want to be. If you want to be black, then you got to put in that extra work. And those 2 months are really important.
That touches, I'll speak to that. That touches back to the idea we were talking about roles and then preparing you for college baseball. when you hit that level, it's you practice with the two other guys that are competing at your spot for your game time reps, right? You guys do everything together, and every single day is a competition for who's going to become the better third baseman, right? And that's what a big difference is. And even you start to see it at our higher levels in the 15U, like our AAA program is, you'll have two players or you'll have three players where one guy thinks, you know what, actually I think I'm a better just all-around ball player than so and so, but he plays that role or that position better, and there are the other spots in the infield you don't excel or you don't outcompete those guys on the infield, and that's how those decisions get made. There's a reason why colleges bring 60 guys into the fall. It creates that atmosphere of no free rides. You got to earn everything you want to get.
Absolutely.
Let's see here. I think we got time for one more. So first and foremost, something that should be on your guys' mind now and to start thinking about is college baseball the right step for me? Right. And for some of you, the answer is no. Like, you just decide, you know what, I've got other things in my life that I want to work on, and that's a-okay. We're here to help make you a better ball player, regardless of what your aspirations are. But is college baseball the right step for me? And then how do I get there? Okay. And some of the metrics or some of the character things that we need to learn to become a college baseball player. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Can you say that last couple things again?
Sure.
My internet crapped out there.
No worries. How do you decide if college baseball is the right path for you? And then what are some hard truths about my physical abilities and my attitude and what the environment is like in college baseball that can help me decide and prepare me for college?
Yeah, the thing about college, and especially the States, there's a few schools here in Canada that obviously have college programs. I can speak from experience that up here in Canada, it's not the same. It's a different level down there, and it's having the mental toughness to be able to fail and then succeed from that. So at the high school level, if I'm able to handle situations the right way, mentally, I'll be good to go for college. Physically, what we have to understand is down in the States, it's a lot of guys that they get to play a lot more than we do. It's a lot warmer down there. Some of the northern states aren't outside quite as much, but even Jamestown, they're out there much earlier than we are. And so from that standpoint, we have to put in so much more work up here. And if you go through our program and you think it's too tough, then that college in the States might not be good for you. If you can accept the challenge that you got to keep getting better, and even when you're the best in our program, that doesn't mean you're the best in Calgary or the best in Alberta. Because that means nothing when you go down to the States.
My funny little anecdote on that is we recently heard one of our college hopefuls, he heard back from a Division I school, NCAA Div 1 4-year school, and he said, I throw 89 to 90 miles an hour. And they said, respectfully, please don't contact us again until you throw 94. But so that is the best of the best. That is why Division Ones are Division Ones, because there are 15-year-olds in Texas right now that are throwing 98 miles an hour. It does not mean that that is what college baseball is across the board, or you will only be successful if you play Division One. It's actually very evenly split in terms of when guys, for instance, get drafted to the MLB. It's about a quarter D1, a quarter D2, a quarter JUCO D1s. There are a lot of paths you can take to where you're looking to go, but that is the upper end of what you're expected to do if you're, for instance, say a pitcher, right? What would be, so for a school like Jamestown, if you're a pitcher, how hard do you usually throw?
So as a freshman, they would like you to be at least 82 to 85. But the kicker is you need to be able to throw 3 pitches for a strike. So we have a few guys in our midget program that are they want to get their velocity up. And it's fine. But if you cannot throw another pitch for a strike, you will not succeed at the college level. We had a guy in Weyburn, actually, when I coached there. He threw 94 to 95, and there was a couple teams that were decent fastball hitters, and he got hit around because he couldn't throw another pitch for a strike. So as a pitcher, you need to be able to throw 3 pitches for a strike.
Yep. How big are guys usually? Like if you're a position player, right? What's probably like a minimum body weight are we looking at? 180?
Yeah. I mean, 180 to 190 for a freshman, I would say, is pretty standard.
But that's strong. That's a strong 180,
Yeah.
190, right? You're looking at, if you want to use an exit velo as a metric, 85 to 95 miles an hour off the tee.
Yeah.
Right. But again, there's more that goes into that. Somebody can hit a ball 95 miles an hour off a tee, but be a terrible hitter. Right. So that's why I touched on that. There's physical metrics that you do have to be able to hit, in terms of you got to be able to throw hard. You got to be able to hit hard. You have to be very skilled athletically, regardless of the position you play. But then there's these intangibles that really help elevate you in the eyes of college coaches.
Yeah, that's the key word there. There's a lot of intangibles, and that's the difference between American baseball and Canadian baseball. We're really far behind on the intangibles and knowing the game and being smart baseball players. So that's our job at the midget level, is to prepare you for that and make sure that you're able to put down a bunt, you're able to hit and run, you're able to do some of that little stuff that if you get to the college level and you can't do it, you might get sent home.
Let's start crafting a bit of a timeline here. So when should I do stuff like making an online profile, whether it's field level or PBR or that sort of thing, getting video out on the web for coaches to see and email to them? When's a good time to start doing that?
Yeah, that's a good question. We start with our grade 10s. We make sure in the fall that they all get videotaped hitting and fielding and pitching, and then from there we start putting stuff on their profile and seeing if coaches are interested. But unless a lot of time, there's not a lot of contrary to belief, there's nobody that gets signed until their grade 12 year. you always hear about other kids committing, and that doesn't mean you signed, and that absolutely does not mean you get to go there. So the there are commitments, but nobody usually gets signed until their grade 12 year. So you have 10, 11, and 12 to get as much video, and you can show that improvement from year to year on your video, and that could go a long way as well. And I would even say start thinking about it when you're in your grade 9 year, so second year Bantams. So that's something to start thinking about, is start getting some video, so that way you can now show a coach, okay, here's where I was 2 years ago, here's where I am now. And it definitely helps a coach understand what kind of kid you are.
When will most of the dialogue you have with college coaches happen? Like start of your grade 12 year, summer after your grade 11?
I would say at the end of this summer, so end of your grade 11 year. We've had a lot of talk with our grade 11 group, but like I said, nobody signs until grade 12 years. So grade your end of your grade 11 year, so basically fall of your grade 12 year, that's when we really want to push and get you signed somewhere.
Yep. I'm trying to think. And then I think another big one that we encourage guys to start looking into as soon as they hit grade 10 is when you're going to write the SAT.
Yeah.
If if you're hard to sit on the US, and there's a lot of opportunities for guys, you don't have to throw 94. You can be a successful college baseball player in the US if you throw 80 and you throw 3 pitches for strikes. But yeah, the SAT is something you should keep on your radar. Look into it. I wrote it for the first time in grade 10. I think it was grade 10, or it might have been in between my grade 10 and 11 year, with the plan to write it a second time to get a better score in my grade 12 year. But by the time I hit the end of my grade 11 year, fall of grade 12, I already had a pretty clear picture of where I was going with ball. And for me, that was staying in Canada and playing in the CCBC. So I didn't need to write my SAT. But in that case, for instance, if you go to a program like PBA in Lethbridge that does a really good job of moving guys on to American schools, they ask you to still write your SAT because they use that score to help promote you to American schools. And even though you graduated high school, let's say 2 years before that, they still want your SAT score.
Yeah.
So definitely something you want to start looking into in your high school year.
Yeah, it's better not to wait. I waited a little long. I didn't mind in my grade 12 year. I did 2 of them in 2 months, and that's not a lot of fun. So I'd rather see you guys split those up.
Yeah. It's a lot of studying. You definitely need a lot of your high school knowledge to do well on it, but writing it a little bit earlier gives you an idea of what is in it and what it's about and what it's like. It's not just necessarily generic memorize these facts and be able to recall them. It's logic and it's English comprehension and things like that. So the more practice you can get at that, the better. I didn't see we had no questions pop up in the chat. So unless somebody's got something burning that they want to ask, Phil, do you have anything else to add?
No. The biggest thing, like I said earlier, guys, is when you get to midget, it's just a step up. Just like midget to college is a step up, everything's a step up. So when you are stepping up, you have to step up your game and work as hard as you can to get to where you want to be. So again, just keep plugging along and doing whatever you can to get better.
It can be really transformative. We always have guys that at 15U, they were AA program players, and in 2 years, they're contributors on a AAA team. So it's a really transformative age, and you can take advantage of it and leapfrog your baseball skills and aspirations.
Yep.
But other than that, looks like we're all good for tonight. Say thanks to Phil for coming on and helping us learn about the 18U program, and wish you guys a Merry Christmas. And we'll see you in the new year.
Merry Christmas, guys. Thanks for having me.
Bye.